And we are live. Hey everyone, how's it going? Matthew Kadish here, doing my first ever live stream. So don't have a plan for this one, but we'll see how it goes. I do have a guest with me right now, my good buddy Jessie Miller, who I met at Star Trek Las Vegas. How you doing, Jessie?
How you doing, everybody?
All 0 people who are watching us.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
People watch later.
I'm going to tweet out that we are live, so hopefully we'll get someone checking in on us.
Oh, you made a new background too, huh?
Yeah, I wanted to find something that looked good and wasn't just like a default thing.
Yeah, it looks good, man.
Tweet this out, and then I'll post it in my Facebook group, and we'll see if anyone cares to join us.
Yeah, something I need to make is a piece of banner art for my channel, because mine's totally just shitty.
Well,
I don't know.
Got to put an effort to look professional, I guess.
Yeah, I gotta give somebody who knows what they're doing an idea so I can give them a check later. Give me something sweet.
Yeah, I got some cool stuff here. So check this out. So for those of you who don't know, I have a Facebook group called the Evil Genius Guild, and I'm thinking about doing my live stream in a kind of Evil Genius style theme. So I've got my logo here. This is the steepling of the fingers, and I also have a little intro. So check this out. Jessie, prepare to have your mind blown. Okay, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Boom.
Boom. See, I have no idea how to make that.
It's just a video. But I think it's kind of cool, like using Streamlabs, or StreamYards, I should say. You can upload like little bumper things to play over stuff. So it's kind of cool. Still playing around with it, trying to find stuff. So Jessie mentioned the background before. As you can see, let me call out here. So we got this kind of red abstract light background. I tried a bunch of different ones to find one that I liked. This was the one I liked the best. But we do have some retro ones in case we want to get really fancy. So we got this one background, and then we've got this one, which is very 80s, a little vaporware stuff. But I like this one the best. And it kind of goes with the Evil Genius theme, I think.
Yeah, it's very smooth. Goes together very well.
Yeah. So I gotta show up the Midnight's Edge guys, because they had a very fancy stream I was on the other night, and I'm like, I gotta outdo these dudes. I gotta show them what I'm capable of. So I played around with this a little bit. I'm still working on it. Hopefully people will watch and be able to give me suggestions and stuff. So Jessie, are you a big video game player?
Yeah, I'd say so. Like, I get over competitive with online gaming, that's for sure.
Yeah, so you know who Ninja is, right?
No.
You've never heard of Ninja, the world's biggest video game streamer?
No, I don't watch like video game streams. I just stream them sometimes.
Well, he's probably the closest thing that the video game industry has to a professional athlete, like a world famous video game player. He's crossed boundaries. He's been on the cover of ESPN magazine, and he plays Fortnite. And recently, Ninja has jumped over from Twitch to exclusively stream on their rival Mixer, which is owned by Microsoft. And Twitch isn't too happy about that.
See, I couldn't do that because I don't like Fortnite, so I wouldn't be able to play a game I don't like just because people wanted me to.
Yeah, nobody would care. Even less people would care than they do right now, probably. But the interesting thing about this is that Twitch has been very petulant in their response to Ninja jumping ship and taking all of his subscribers with him. Last time I checked, Ninja had like 1.3 million subscribers on Mixer. That's 1.3 million people paying $8 a month to support Ninja, which is crazy.
That's rather insane.
his first month on that platform, he's going to make over $8 million. $9-10 million, easy. And if those guys renew, if even half of those people renew, I mean, that's good money. But apparently, according to Twitch, they have been testing out this new thing where they show recommended streams on people's channels when they're not streaming. So if you have a Twitch account and you're not streaming, Twitch can basically go into your account and play someone else's stream to try to get people who might go to check out your account onto a different person's account. That's the story anyway. But
That's weird.
It seems the only person that they're doing this to is Ninja now that he's no longer using his account. And there was a bit of a kerfluffle that happened the other day where I don't know how it happened, but whatever channel that Twitch was recommending to Ninja's kind of viewership was full-on hardcore porn.
Wow.
Yeah, someone turned their stream into a porn channel.
Well, I believe that because they did that to my buddy Fedorable to get him a strike.
Oh, really? What happened?
Oh, yeah, his stream got taken over. He got kicked out of his own stream through an old glitch they never fixed, and then the guy started streaming porn.
Oh, wow. So Ninja, understandably, was upset about this little development, and he went on, I guess it was Instagram or something like that, and he went on a big tirade against Twitch. So it seems like the people at Twitch are pissed that Ninja left, and they're trying to do things to piss him off or make him look bad. And he had to go online and apologize to all the parents and kids because he's a very family-friendly streamer. So he's like, if you were exposed to this on my channel, I'm very sorry. But he's like, I spent years building my brand and building my audience, and Twitch is jealous and they're trying to tear me down. I find it interesting. I find it really interesting because this is like, I mean, the video game esports world always has this kind of drama in it, but never before has Twitch been kind of like as a platform
Organized like that.
Been at the center of such a controversy. It's like the people at Twitch are legitimately being douchebags specifically towards Ninja because they were pissed that he blindsided them by jumping to a competitor. It's crazy. I've never seen anything like it.
No, that's obvious.
Yeah. So I just watched the Quartering's video on this, and he had a pretty interesting take on it. But Quartering always has interesting takes on stuff. One of the more insightful things that I think I saw in regards to this was Ethan Klein. I don't know. Do you ever watch the H3H3 podcast?
No.
So there's this podcast on YouTube. It's called the H3H3 podcast. It's done by Ethan and Ela Klein. And they were big on YouTube for a little bit, and then they decided to take their podcast over to Twitch. And I guess Twitch courted them and promised them, pie in the sky stuff, and they were like schmoozing them, trying to get them to, move over to Twitch. So they made the move from YouTube to Twitch. And I had wondered why I hadn't seen Ethan and Ela's podcast, going for quite a while. And it turns out they were just doing it on Twitch instead of YouTube. But eventually they got sick and tired of Twitch because Twitch was also kind of nickel and diming them and saying like, we want you to stream X number of hours a day. And they're like, our podcast is like 2-3 hours. We don't want to do more than, we need to, like
what were they saying, like 8 hours a day?
I think like 5 to 6 or something like that. But I mean, like if you watch the H3 podcast, I think at most it's maybe like 3 hours long if they have a really interesting guest on or something like that. But, they just had a kid. They don't want to be streaming like, all day long. So they were like, no.
You're getting paid very well.
Well, apparently they weren't getting paid all that great because eventually they were like, you know what, this isn't for us. We're going to go back to YouTube. And Twitch basically did the same thing to them that they're doing to Ninja in the sense that they're withholding payments. They kicked them out of the partnership program on Twitch. So Twitch is like, oh, we're not going to pay you anything and we're revoking your status. And so Ethan's like, that's fine, but you owe us all this money for the time that we did stream, so you have to pay us. And they're like, well, in order to get paid, you have to sign up for our partnership program. He's like, I was in your partnership program. You kicked me out. Pay me. And they're like, no, you need to re-sign up. And so Twitch has been doing this to other creators as well. And it just seems like the people who are running that site aren't doing a very good job of it. They're kind of selectively enforcing their policies. They're picking winners and losers. They're being very petty and mean-spirited. And you wouldn't think a company owned by Amazon would do this, because Twitch is owned by Amazon.com. So you'd think that they would be a little bit more professional, I guess, for lack of a better word. But this whole thing with Twitch, or with Ninja going over to Mixer, basically took Twitch's biggest star and gave him to their biggest rival. And now Mixer is in the headlines. I don't know how that's going to work out, though. Like, I think that that the Twitch audience is fairly loyal. I don't think they'll jump ship.
Well, it all depends on what you're used to, really. I mean, we get used to our platforms, don't we?
Yeah, exactly. Like there's platform loyalty as opposed to creator loyalty. And I think, like, when Ethan and Ela Klein moved their podcast to Twitch, I had no idea. Like, I stuck with YouTube, and I never to watch them.
Even when we do Creepy Little Book afterwards, he puts on a BitChute.
Yeah.
So it's like, because it screws with the algorithm if he was to leave that many live streams on his own channel,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there's a lot of drama going on in the video game community right now. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah. Everybody's streaming on all kinds of different things. It's hard to even know where anyone is anymore.
Yeah, I did a live stream earlier on my Facebook group, just testing out this software to see how that worked. That was kind of fun. I enjoyed that. Oh, we've got lots of comments here. I'm sorry, guys. I didn't even realize people were commenting. Cynical Centrist, hello. It's good to see you. SD Ivana, good to see you too. Thomas Gilkey, good to see you. He says, so he knows you. Don't do porn, okay, Cynical? I think that's right.
Hey, look, if you can find somebody to pay me, we'll talk.
SD Ravana, Ninja leaving Twitch is like PewDiePie leaving YouTube. Have you ever heard of Mia Khalifa?
Mm-hmm.
Jesse?
Yes, I've heard this name before.
Yes,
I don't know young people, though.
She's a well-known pornography actress.
See, I would have said skateboarder.
Well, you'd be wrong. She's quite an attractive young lady who is known for making adult films.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, she was trending on Twitter today. I don't know if you noticed that.
No, I'm kicked off of Twitter twice.
Kicked off of Twitter twice.
Yep, IP banned.
What got you kicked off?
All kinds of stuff.
Care to elaborate?
Oh, it's all old news, but the first time around there was like an organized campaign against a number of YouTubers, and they were trying to false flag their videos to get their channels taken down. So basically went back and forth with them for a week, and then I was posting all this stuff, and then I got banned. Another one, I told somebody they need new batteries for a certain device, and that made them dig up my old account, and then they sent that to Twitter, and that got me banned in like 10 minutes.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, all kinds of stuff.
Well, it's funny because Mia Khalifa, a well-known porn actress, her name started trending on Twitter along with someone named Dick Sweat, S-W-E-T-T, Dick Sweat. And so everyone's like, why is Mia Khalifa trending with Dick Sweat? I've never heard of this before. Turned out to be two completely unrelated happenstance things. But the reason Mia Khalifa was trending, and I haven't read this article yet, but I was thinking about doing a video on it for my channel, was that she claims that she only made $12,000 over the course of her career as a pornographic actress.
Now, how many movies are we talking here?
God knows how many.
Like
not
1,000?
necessarily movies, more like scenes.
Yeah, you know what I'm. Yeah.
But I'm sitting there and I'm like, could someone actually make like just $12,000 doing porn? Because I know a lot of these girls, depending on what they do, they get paid like a different rate, and it's not a lot. It's like, like $500 a scene, $1,000 a scene, depending on what they're doing. So the question is it's like, was she just really bad at business? I mean,
I guess you would have to be.
but she's a legitimate porn star. Like she has name recognition. If you see her, you'd probably recognize her. Like she's got some mainstream crossover stuff because whatever, she's got a big following on Instagram.
All right, you're gonna make me Google this shit, ain't you?
So
I hope it auto fills in that last name because Jesus.
Yeah, it's Khalifa.
Song lyrics.
Let me check. I gotta check.
Aladdin movie.
Mia.
I don't think we're talking about the same person here.
Khalifa. Yeah. So I guess she's been a porn star for a number of years, and she just claims that over the course of her career, it was $12,000. That's all she made. And I'm like, that doesn't sound right to me.
Well, she's a dipshit.
Especially considering how prolific she was. She's done a lot of stuff. And if you watch her Instagram, like she lives in a really nice house. So either she's got some sugar daddies taking care of her, or like her boyfriend's really rich, or she's just lying for tax reasons.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
I don't know. But to think that, a big porn star like herself only made a total of $12,000, something doesn't seem right to me.
No, it doesn't.
Because even like if she were to license out her image or something like that, she could make at least like 50 grand a year doing that type of thing.
Damn.
I don't know.
Wish I could.
Yeah.
I'm gonna need a lot of surgeries.
Yeah. You want to go into porn, Jesse? Is that your dream?
For that, dude, that's a lot of money. You're not really doing anything.
Oh, you're doing a lot. Male porn stars actually, like they have it a lot harder than the female porn stars. No pun intended. But you have to perform, and you have to be able to perform on command for extended periods of time, and you have to be able to like not, climax.
Take a pill or something.
No.
I'm sure they got them.
I don't know. Cynical centrist says she needs a sugar daddy. Don't we all?
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Well, not really, because there's probably other stuff involved there that I'm just simply not prepared for. But
you never know. Vegas out here, anything goes. I knew a girl who she needed some extra cash, but she didn't want to like prostitute or anything like that. Her morals wouldn't allow it.
So you videotaped it?
No. What she did was she signed up for a service that offered cuddling.
Oh, those weirdos.
Yeah, and like it wouldn't be sex or anything like that. She met with gentlemen who had disposable income, and they just wanted to be cuddled. They wanted to like curl up with her in bed, and they didn't fool around. They didn't do anything. They just cuddled, and she made hundreds of dollars doing this. It's like, ugh. I could think of better ways to spend my money, but I guess for some people that makes sense.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
Matt Bader is in the chat. Hey, Matt, how you doing, buddy? Tried to get Matt on the live stream, but unfortunately he works late.
This is a dirty stream, but what are you going to do?
Yeah, well, we talk about all types of mature topics on this stream. This is the first stream, so I'm just kind of working through it, Like, I really don't know what to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
About 20 minutes in, we've got 6 viewers in the chat.
Talking about some porn chick who makes way too much money and doesn't even know it.
My buddy Steve here, he says, she's doing it wrong. You can say that again, Steve. That's terrible.
Doing something wrong.
Yeah. SD Ravana. I got nothing against her, though. She might be a genuinely nice person. She seems nice. I've seen her on Instagram and stuff.
Sure, she's very nice.
Yeah.
So she got positive.
She definitely looks nice. I'll tell you that. She's a very attractive woman. I'm kind of pillow shaped. I'd be good at cuddling. I bet you would. Nothing wrong with pillow shape. I think I'm a special type of shape, personally.
Yesterday, passion for drawing. Somehow we got on this topic, but he was looking up body pillows that look like centaurs. Because apparently this had come up like a few days ago. So he was looking up some kind of weird shit, right? And his wife saw it, and she's like, what's this? So now she's going to find the centaur body pillows, and she's going to be like, do we need to talk?
Dude, some of that body pillow stuff is so weird.
Dude, there's a lot of specialized weirdness going on out there, and you don't even know to look for it unless somebody makes a joke and you look it up.
I mean, like in Japan, there's like this whole subculture of guys who are in relationships with their body pillows. Like they have like
relationship. That's called taking a nap.
Well, no, they have like anime girls on the body pillows, and they treat them like their actual girlfriend. Like they'll take them out in public. They'll talk to them. They'll sit down and have dinner with the body pillow.
What do they do? Pour soup on it?
No, they don't get it dirty.
They don't get it dirty. I bet they do get it dirty, nasty bastards.
Well, they do it dirty. You know, they'll get probably the easiest way to get a threesome is to get 2 of those girlfriend body pillows.
Yeah, you get them on sale. But when they go out in public like this, people don't bust their balls. Like, I'd bust their balls.
Let's see here. Matthew, what do you think of the rumor that Disney Lucasfilm has to pay George 25% for using original trilogy characters? Cynical, I'm actually doing a video on this that's set to come out. It's either Wednesday or Thursday. But my initial take on the Disney Lucasfilm rumor is that I don't believe George Lucas still has any ownership rights to the original trilogy. If they negotiated it into the sale of the IP, there's a possibility that George gets some type of royalty off of the use of the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy stuff. I do not think it's as high as 25%. That seems like way too much. It might be like, a point or 2 points or something like that. But that rumor that, Gary and Doomcock kind of talked about, it's a very bizarre rumor, and I don't buy it for a second, in the sense that just what I know about Hollywood licensing in general, there is no way in 7 hells that Disney would be paying $4.2 or $4.6 billion to license something from George Lucas, especially considering all the legal liabilities that are opened up when they start licensing that stuff out, because that would be a sub-license basically. And if anything ever happened between Disney and Lucas where Lucas revoked that license, then the Hasbro license would be illegal, the EA license would be illegal. Pretty much every license for Star Wars stuff would open up Disney for some type of copyright infringement lawsuit or something like that. So I don't buy for a second that Disney doesn't fully own Star Wars. I believe that when they first bought Star Wars, there were some rights issues where the theatrical rights for Episode 4 were still tied up with 20th Century Fox, and the rights for the broadcast TV rights for the original trilogy, Episodes 4, 5, and 6, were tied up with Warner Networks, or Turner Networks, I'm sorry, Warner Media. So because of that, because they didn't own all the rights free and clear for the original trilogy, I think when they started planning out Galaxy's Edge, they decided to go with characters and stuff that they fully own, and then change iconic stuff like the Millennium Falcon and Tatooine and things like that to something different, just so they could avoid any potential rights infringements or increasing the value of these rights that they didn't own. And then over time, they eventually acquired Fox, which kind of shored up the rights for the original trilogy. And that basically meant that they were now free to use the original trilogy characters. And but because they had already set the balls in motion way back when they didn't have those rights, they just went through with it. And they'll probably incorporate original trilogy stuff going forward. So that's my take on it. I think the person who was feeding Gary this information is completely bogus. I know that Gary said that he had multiple sources confirming it, but that just means in my book that multiple people are wrong. Like how many people did we have saying that Kathleen Kennedy was going to get fired? They're like,
yeah, exactly.
oh, I got inside sources. All my inside sources are telling me that Kathleen Kennedy is going to be fired. And I'm sitting there like, no, she's not going to be fired. You're out of your mind. And everyone said like, oh, well, I got insiders. I got multiple insiders telling me this stuff. And it turned out they were all wrong. So just because there's someone who's supposedly in the know telling you this stuff doesn't always mean that they're actually in the know. In fact, if you want to buy into some conspiracy theories, there's a school of thought out there that Lucasfilm specifically has a disinformation group out there who's spreading stuff to try to confuse the fans and keep them off kilter. So, but when it comes to this licensing stuff, I feel like I got a pretty good handle on how it works, and nothing from that rumor rang true to me. So if indeed Lucas does have a royalty on this stuff, it's very small, and Disney has no problem paying out royalties. So, oh, we got Midnight's Edge After Dark in here. Is that you, Tom? Yes, we are quite handsome. Let's see here. We got Celebrity Jeremy. Too bad you got to work. I wish you could hang out more, but good to see you. Thanks for coming on the stream. Let's see. Matt Vader's at work. He's going to get busted for watching.
Yeah, duck.
Okay, SD Ravana. Do you guys think Rey will lift the wreckage of the Death Star from Endor? God, I hope not.
Yeah, precisely. If she does, everybody's going to start just making noises, but not happy noises.
Yeah, there's so many quote unquote spoiler rumors out there coming out for episode 9, that I'm beginning to doubt the legitimacy of any of them.
Well, before Last Jedi came out, they were saying that Mark Hamill was shooting a scene by himself for like 3 days, and it took so much out of him, and blah 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 blah. It's gonna show the extent of how he uses his force powers. And then what? Where was this scene? So rumors suck.
Okay, Tom, just so you know, you did get an invite. I texted it to you, and I DM'd you on Twitter. So hop on if you want to. Hop on. I'll add you. Yeah, I don't think that Rey will lift the wreckage of the Death Star from Endor. I think that that just seems way too out of bounds for me. Like, of all the stupid stuff they could have her do, that's too stupid for my thing. So I'm hoping that J.J. Abrams is just...
Yeah, at that point in the final space battle or whatever, why not just have her just pick up her hand and just throw all the ships into the sun or something?
Yeah.
Same shit.
I mean, like, why does she need to lift the Death Star anyway? It's like, who cares? All right. So
it's like the Death Star, right? Let's bring that back somehow. We got Palpatine in it. He's not dead. Nobody's dead.
Yeah. Well, nobody's ever really gone.
Yeah. Sure.
So the lack of original trilogy stuff is more due to the Fox merger. Okay. Well, it was due to just having some of the rights entangled with other studios. So basically, Turner Broadcasting's over at Warner Brothers. 20th Century Fox was its own thing. But once Disney acquired Fox, they brought all the Episode 4 original trilogy rights back under one umbrella, with the exception of the broadcast TV rights, which are with Turner Broadcasting Networks until, I believe, 2024. So they still got a few more years before that lapses back to them. But basically, their thinking was they didn't want to commit to something that they didn't have complete ownership of. And so the decision to make Galaxy's Edge kind of original trilogy free, so to speak, it wasn't that they didn't want to pay out George Lucas or anything like that. It was just that they wanted to possibly avoid any legal problems. So that was kind of my read on it. Now, again, I could be wrong. I haven't seen any contracts. I don't know what goes on in the Disney boardrooms, but it just seems to me like something that's so typical of Hollywood, which is paying out royalties. I mean, they pay out royalties to actors all the time. They pay out royalties to directors, to producers, stuff like that. The idea that they wouldn't use some of their most valuable IP simply because they had to pay George Lucas a few extra dollars doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. So I personally don't buy it. That's just me, though. SD Ravana, so what's your opinion on Fallen Order? Did the gameplay demo convince you? Not really.
Yeah, exactly. be pretty as hell. That doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, it looks like Uncharted with a Star Wars skin on it. Now that's not saying that might not be good. I mean, I'll definitely check it out. I buy every Star Wars game that comes out, but it's not something that I'm like dying to play. Like I think
turned off after Battlefront 2.
Yeah, the last Star Wars game that I truly loved was Jedi Knight 2, and that was just because of the multiplayer. When I was in college, we'd get on our dorm internet and just play death matches on Jedi Knight 2 until the wee hours of the morning. So that game has a special place in my heart. But the days of LucasArts, with their awesome Star Wars games like TIE Fighter. TIE Fighter is a classic in my opinion. They're gone. We're not getting anything good out of EA, and I think Fallen Order will probably be decent, but I don't see it blowing my mind. Again, could be wrong. Let's see here, nothing on Twitter, but see the text. I'm not sure how to get the text here. Give me a minute. You know what, Tom? I'm going to email you the link. So that should be easy. I think.
Yeah, about Alita Battle Angel, I think there's definitely going to be a sequel to that because there's too much of a big to-do made about it not to have one at this point.
I agree. Plus, it made money, right? Like it turned a profit, didn't it?
Yeah, no problem there. I'm sure it's going to keep turning a profit because it sure will probably move some DVD sales.
I guess the question is, like, it took a couple years to get that off the ground. I guess the question is, can Robert Rodriguez and James Cameron come together again to do that? I don't know.
Well, they need some kind of like a good big story, like stepping out into the wider world type of a thing.
Well, it's based on the manga, so they have a lot of source material to draw from.
Well, so that's no problem.
Yeah. So I'm not too worried about that. It's more a question of, Disney now owns that. And by the way, Tom, I sent you the link to join the stream via Twitter. So you should have that now. But the issue is that Alita now is owned by Disney because it bought out Fox. And here we go. We got Tom coming in. Add him.
Hello. Hello, can you hear me?
Turtle Power.
We can hear you.
Am I coming through loud enough?
Yep.
All right. Yeah, sorry about that. You tweet or you sent it to me on a text, but you didn't send me in a tweet. So I'm like, oh shit! And I even tried typing it in, and it wouldn't let me in that way.
Oh, that sucks, man.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
That's all good. I was like, how do I get to this? No,
I could have sworn I DM'd you, but
evidently it didn't go through. You didn't hit enter it. I do that too. Yeah, because I got this other one up here. It's 404, and there's nothing here. It's literally the same address though, but it wouldn't let me in just by typing it.
That sucks, dude.
Anyway, I missed part of the early part of the show here. What did you get a chance to check out our video then? I heard you were talking about George.
I did get a chance to check it out. I want to watch it a couple more times to try to digest everything. But my take on George, I did a video on that today. As a matter of fact, that's going to be released. It's either Wednesday or Thursday or whatever. But my take on the George thing is that whoever is giving Gary that info is completely wrong. I don't think that there's anything to that. If there is a royalty, it's not 25%. It's very small.
Well, I was going to say, yeah. If you watched it, like we kind of address it in an angle like, if this is true, it's because and I wish Andre would have been a little bit more clear about this in his writing, because the way I see it is, it's no different than like the Marvel deal. Yeah, Disney owns Marvel. But if they make a Marvel movie that's based on a character that somebody created who still gets credit through Marvel and they still get residuals, that person still has to be credited and residuals have to be given. You know what I mean? It's just one of those typical things in Hollywood. It has nothing to do with anything other than that's just the way it works. Just like George Lucas is a producer and director on Star Wars. He's always going to have some kind of say over his movie as long as he's alive. Period. You know, like the Fox deal cleared up some of that shit. But again, I don't really think that they're deliberately doing it because of Lucas. I think it's deliberately just because they don't want the old stuff. That's what it is. It's more so they just don't want to deal with, you know, the past. They want to go forward with their thing. And I don't think the residuals really matter. I don't think the residuals really matter so much either, because one thing that I kind of was upset Andre didn't bring up was that Lucas is the single, or he owns more shares than any other single person in Disney.
Yeah. Well, other than the Steve Jobs estate.
Yeah, what I'm saying, as a single person alive, living and well, he basically makes money off it no matter what, as long as it makes money.
Yeah.
So it's really kind of there's going to be more to it. There's going to be more that's going to be coming out with the next couple videos that we have info on, and some of it, you know, is from a pretty reliable source.
My biggest problem with Gary's scoop with Source is that I've never known a licensing deal to be struck like that, like where Disney's like, oh, we're going to pay you $4 billion, but you still own this stuff. We're just going to license it from you, and then we're going to license it through our consumer products division and open ourselves up to all types of copyright infringement lawsuits.
No, what I think more so it has to do with is just the standard, the fact that George Lucas created X characters. So if they use X characters,
I mean, there's no proof that he's getting any type of royalty structure, but if it was written into the deal that he is entitled to royalties on these things, then I
think it's just a standard thing. That's what I'm saying. And here's the thing, and this is kind of one thing I'm kind of leaking now that we know, is that George Lucas just wanted to give Star Wars to Disney, according to our very reliable source. So to me, that tells me he already knew that there was probably some residuals on the other end for him anyway. So like, it wasn't a very big deal for him to make any money off. He just wanted to get rid of it, basically. And then, you know, when a lot of people are like, well, why didn't they follow George's thing, or why didn't he fight harder? I don't really think he cares. I really think he's kind of washed his hands and moved on from Star Wars.
Yeah, I honestly think his experience with the prequels, kind of soured him on you know, Star Wars, and this, like, he just got such blowback. Fans and he
want to be a jerk to me. Now this is what you get.
Yeah, all of a sudden he wasn't this genius anymore. He was kind of like the
And when you've been hearing that for 20 years, what do you expect?
Yeah.
And not only that, I mean, from what I've heard, and this is even just me, this is not even as reliable as the other thing. This is just from what I've read and stuff over the years. I don't think George Lucas ever really wanted to be that guy. I don't really think he ever wanted to make movies like Star Wars, because Star Wars kind of came out of a challenge he got from his wife and Francis Ford Coppola to try and make some shit that people can relate to, because THX 1138 most famously almost bankrupted Zoetrope Studios and caused them to lose their 3-picture deal with Warner Brothers.
Well, George Lucas, you know, he was an experimental filmmaker.
That's what I'm getting to, is I don't think he ever really wanted to make movies like American Graffiti and Star Wars. Those were just a challenge. What he really wanted to do was things like THX and the more experimental stuff. I don't think he really wanted to do commercial.
About after the prequels were done, that he wanted to get back to more that type of thing. But I just don't think he likes directing.
No. And Howard the Duck was the only other thing he showed any interest in for a long time that kind of panned out, besides Indiana Jones, because he had been talking about doing Howard the Duck movie since the mid-70s. So that's not, you know, that's not the only other thing he really wanted to do that was kind of commercial, I guess.
Here's a good question from Cynical Centrist. All the YouTube videos are always so negative. What are some TV series you're watching right now, or what are some of your past favorites? Cynical, I don't know about you, Tom, or you, Jesse, wherever you've gone, Jesse. But there's so much good TV right now. Probably my most recent favorite is The Boys.
I haven't seen that yet, but I want to check it out. Yeah.
Oh my God, it's so good.
I've heard good things.
It's so good. Like I've been a fan of Garth Ennis for a long time. I thought his run on The Punisher was just brilliant. Of course, you got Preacher and all that stuff. But The Boys, Eric Kripke, who was the showrunner for Supernatural, this is like his new TV show. So he took the comics from Garth Ennis and kind of made this this TV show, and I feel like this is the type of show that Preacher should have been, but because they were on broadcast or cable TV, they couldn't do this stuff. So because it's on a streaming service, it's absolutely brilliant. It kind of turns the superhero mythos on its head. There are no actual heroes in the superhero show. Everyone's just a varying degree of villain, you know. And but it's such a fantastic, messed up show in all the right ways. And it's something that's really captured my imagination and captured my interest. And I can't wait for a second season.
It sounds like it's very un-PC compared to a lot of stuff out there too, from what I've heard.
Yeah.
Or at least it throws some of that kind of stuff on its feet.
From my buddy Steve, I just finished it, liked it as much as the comic book. I haven't read the comic, but I really want to.
Gary said that compared to the comic, there's some things he doesn't understand why they changed it, because he actually knows one of the guys involved with the comic. I don't know exactly who it was, but
I think he knows the illustrator.
Yeah, and he had some qualms, but other than that, he said it was good. One I really love right now is Cobra Kai. Like that's my all-time favorite, besides the tried and true like South Parks, even though that's kind of getting a little.
In fact, I think John Hurwitz, one of the head writers on Cobra Kai, was tweeting about season 3. He's big on Twitter, so he's been talking about how they're getting ready to start shooting season 3. No word on whether or not Elizabeth Shue is appearing. It's funny because Elizabeth Shue was in The Boys, and so the entire time I was watching The Boys, I was like, since she's in this show, does that mean she can't be in Cobra Kai? Like, are the schedules going to work out?
They should work. Well, because aren't they really pretty much done filming The Boys already, or are they still in the midst of it?
I don't know.
Because shows like this that have special effects, they generally have to go a little bit earlier. Like that's the whole thing with Star Trek Discovery. I kept looking at my imaginary watch and going, if they don't start this show soon, we're not getting it by the normal time. And we're not going to get it by the normal time. We're going to get Picard in its place even later than planned. Yeah. And I bet we won't see another Discovery until next summer or fall.
SD, is Butcher a deconstruction of the Punisher? I don't think so. They seem like very different characters to me. The Punisher is someone who could fight superheroes. Like if you ever read any of the Garth Ennis Punisher comics, there's a great thing where he actually takes on Spider-Man, Daredevil, and Wolverine, and just makes complete fools out of all.
I always saw the Punisher as not the detective, but the extra firepower version of Batman, like his brute force. Like that's how he could take down some of these superheroes. Like Batman was always clever enough and knew how to do it, and Punisher seems to have that too. He's not like the detective though, but yeah.
Well, he does do something.
He knows how to make a plan, that's for certain.
What's that, Jesse?
He knows how to make a plan, that's for certain.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, he's good at that. Like Batman.
Very tactical. That's the Punisher's strength, is his tactical ability. I love Carl Urban and Supernatural. Preacher was pretty good too. Glad to see Kripke having some success. I'm not so sure about Preacher. Like I've watched every season, and even though like it's a good show, it doesn't feel like it's as good as the comics, I think.
People always say positive things about it, but it never draws me in to watch it. So,
well, I think the casting was very poorly done for that show, with the exception of the vampire guy. It's hard to explain because the show does a lot of interesting, fun, like crazy things, but at the same time, it's not something that captures the imagination. Whereas I feel like The Boys was actually probably better than the comic source material, as it turned out.
Well, isn't Preacher on like AMC or something like that? So isn't it hindered a little bit by some? I mean, they don't have to on cable. They don't really have to censor, but they do on the like what are considered the main cable channels during prime time. So it's kind of like self-censoring, I guess.
I will say, in terms of like good TV shows, The Handmaid's Tale. I don't know if you guys ever watched that. It's the most depressing freaking show you'll ever watch in your life, and
I've seen bits and pieces.
It'll make you hate being a man, but it's a very, very well done show. Like my girlfriend forces me to watch it, and we're on season 3 right now, and like it's just so hard to watch sometimes because it's just so depressing. But the acting on the show is just so good.
Well, isn't that another one though that's based on a book though, so it has some source material to draw from?
Yeah, but by this point they've gotten so far away from the book that it's really its own thing. Like they kind of took the universe from the book,
right,
and really expanded upon it, and it's crazy what they're doing with it right now. But the lead actress, I forget her name.
She's from Mad Men and stuff. I can't think of it either now. And she was just
she-
in that movie that flopped this weekend too.
Yeah, the kitchen, something like that.
Yeah,
Like she is amazing in this show. Like she acts the crap out of every scene that she's in. She's just fantastic in this show. But it really does, like, it's just so depressing. Like it's hard to recommend. Like I think women tend to appreciate.
What's it about? Why is it so depressing? Why does it make you hate being a man?
So isn't it about like an apocalyptic future or is it set like alternate?
Well, it's a dystopian future where a religious fundamentalist group kind of takes over the United States and institutes like this like very fundamental government theocracy, and because of some type of nuclear disaster, it's very hard for people to have babies. Like there's a lot of infertility. And so they draft in healthy women who are able to conceive children to become what are called handmaids, which are basically like sex slaves. And basically they farm these women out to the leaders of the country so that they can repopulate the country. And it's basically these guys raping these women to try to impregnate them. And once they have their babies, the babies are taken away from these women, and they have like all types of like crazy emotional turmoil because they form these attachment with these babies, and if they step out of line, they're tortured and like punished in terrible ways. And there's all these there's this backdrop of political persecution, like all the gays are executed, all the
well, it sounds to me like a regressive society mixed with a futuristic one, kind of.
Yeah, I mean, it's not science fiction in the sense that there's like flying cars and stuff, but it's kind of like an alternate. It's almost like a Brave New World type.
Kind of like if medieval times met kind of something where women didn't have any power or saying anything, I guess. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Like it's a very
and it's a patriarchal society, and the men who run it are just so hypocritical, and so vile.
It's like the government was like Jonestown.
Yeah, but it's a really fascinating show because there are straight up villains in the show who become sympathetic over time. Then there are people who you think are good, and you realize that they're even worse than like the terrible villains. And the characters are just so deep and rich and stuff like that, but the situations that they keep getting put in are just so depressing and terrible. And as a man watching it, it makes me hate myself. So my girlfriend, of course, gets off on that, I guess. So
I'm just one of those, I don't have the time to invest in so many TV shows, so like I really have to be picky and choosy.
My buddy Steve, I just hated the TV version of Preacher. Comic is my favorite series. I agree, the comic for Preacher is much better.
Yeah, what I've heard from not just what Matt was saying here before, but from other people is that the show does not do the comic real justice.
Yeah.
So,
has Detective Pikachu broken the video game movie curse?
Was it a hit?
Well, I don't think it was a hit. I mean, like I think it did okay. Like I recently just watched it.
You just watched it, yeah. Was it any good or?
It was okay. I'm
not complete.
Bad.
I don't know shit about Pokemon. I just know who Pikachu is. I got to collect them all. That's all I know.
I felt like the Pokemon in the movie were really cute, and the story was serviceable. It was definitely better than a video game adaptation like Assassin's Creed, which was a snore fest. But I wouldn't say it broke the movie curse. There's still no video game based movie that has really kind of overcome that.
I think the only one that ever will is probably the original Mortal Kombat, really.
Even that wasn't quite.
Well, that's just because it was of its time, I think. You could do something much better now, but.
Maybe. I don't know.
I think it's just past its point. I mean, the problem with video games is they're so cinematic now that it almost feels like I should just be picking up a controller and playing the game myself. And stuff like Mario Brothers, I mean, outside of an animated film, I really just don't see that succeeding. I don't see this Sonic movie doing any good. It'll get some traction just because of the curiosity factor, but then after that's done, nobody's going to go see it.
Well, I recently did a podcast on the Warcraft movie.
Right.
We kind of talked about in that podcast some of the other video game adaptations. And I think, we're getting closer to a movie that can break through that video game curse, like the new Tomb Raider. Even though it didn't do that, it got a little bit closer because it was a decent enough film. Warcraft was a decent enough film, but like nothing's ever quite broken out in terms of like
Silent Hill did okay, but I think a lot of that was because most people didn't realize it was a video game because you had the horror crowd that went to see it.
I didn't like Silent Hill. I
I didn't either, but I'm just saying I know that did okay. And like same thing with Resident Evil. Is it played
Resident Evil was the only one that really made any
with a different crowd though than just the video game crowd? I didn't care for the Resident Evil movies at all. So I'm just saying. I mean, again, it's just one of. I really don't like the first one either. Andre,
they were okay, but it was hard to tell them apart from each other.
I just felt like all the Resident Evil movies were just terrible.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, that's
they did well at the box office for the most part, but
most video game stories work so well in the medium that they come from, but they don't adapt well. And I see the same issue with anime.
I agree.
And to me, anime just kind of boggles my mind because it's like, okay, anime is kind of the style of storytelling you're doing in animation. That's kind of the whole point. And when you do stuff, even if it's good, like Battle Angel Alita or whatever, you know, it still kind of boggles me because you're still doing it animated. Like the new Lion King, same damn thing. It's still technically animated. It's not really a real movie.
Cynical centrist Elizabeth Moss. Thank you. That was the actress who is from.
Yeah, he said that first. Sorry, that's her name.
Yeah,
she was also in the first thing I remember seeing her in was the one with Get Him to the Greek or whatever the hell it's called. With
yeah, with P. Diddy and
yeah, and it was not that bad of a movie, but it was just one of those movies. Like, why is this a thing? I guess
I love.
I didn't see that.
I thought that was hilarious.
It was a good movie, but it was just one of those movies where it was just like, okay, this is a thing. It's like,
so cynical centrist says that Moss was great in The Kitchen, but there was very little humor, like Goodfellas.
You were the only guy that went to see that, evidently, or gal.
Yeah, apparently. I mean, like. It didn't look funny. I know it's based on a comic book. Oddly enough,
I didn't get a vibe that it was supposed to be funny at all.
Yeah, I guess she's saying that it's kind of like Goodfellas. Nothing about that movie looked good to me, though. Like the characters didn't seem good. The premise seemed like it had been done before. It just there was nothing about it that was appealing to a general audience, I think.
Yeah, we're gonna bring this up on toxic femininity tomorrow night with the ladies, but I think. Kind of where this comes from. This is a prime example of how not to make films for women, because women will go to movies, but they don't want to go see this shit that's pandering and making women look stupid, or in turn even making men look stupid, or something like this is something they've seen a million times before, or better in Goodfellas.
Or they make it like the woman is the best thing ever and doesn't have to learn anything.
They don't care about that. Why would they want to go see something that's something like they've already seen? That's what
people want to see. People go through struggles and get through them and become more, and then become better, and maybe even the best.
I also think that Hollywood's placing a little bit too much importance on the star power of Melissa McCarthy, Tiffany Haddish, and Elizabeth Moss. Like, these women, they're, I wouldn't call Melissa McCarthy a good actress, but, they have some name recognition to them.
I'd call her talentless.
Yeah, I'm not a fan.
I go that far.
I'm not a fan. But, like, it seems that they're like, oh, these are 3 female stars. We put them together in a movie, and it's going to draw a crowd. And it's like, no, not really. They don't quite have...
they're not like names like they used to do stuff like you used to have, like when you'd put, like, Diane Keaton and... help me out here, like Susan Sarandon or something like that together. That was a big deal, like those kind of names, they meant something because they were actually proven. What the fuck has Melissa McCarthy done besides the TV show, really, that's done anything? And Spy, and okay, let's take away anything that Paul Feig's involved in. What has she done that's made any money? Really? All of her movies have flopped, pretty much.
Yeah, I don't...
Did Ghostbusters.
Well, that flopped too. But the only movies that I can think of that she's been in that have made money have been Bridesmaids, which I think she even got nominated for a fucking Oscar for some reason. The Heat and Spy are the only 3 movies I can think of offhand that have made any money that she's been in. And if somebody else knows any more, please remind me. But those are the only 3 that I can think of.
Yeah, like I just don't find her to be very entertaining personally. Like, I'm not a fan.
I didn't mind her at first, but then she got really annoying and grating.
She's exactly like that dude who does Paul Blart Mall Cop. The joke is I'm fat and I fell down.
Yes, because I didn't mind him at first either, but then after a while, it got to a point where I just got sick of him. Yes, I know exactly what you mean.
It drives me crazy.
D5, what's up, man? Good to have you on the stream.
What the hell is his name now? Kevin Hart, right? Or not Kevin Hart, Kevin James.
Kevin
Yes.
Oh man, Warcraft had such potential to it. Silent Hill could have been great if they stuck to what made the games good. Well, you could say that about any adaptation.
Well, that's just it, though. What can you do? And that's my problem is you got to make a video game movie that makes me not want to pick up a controller because I haven't seen that yet or played the game that much, and I don't know if they're going to make a movie of that. Is that even adaptable?
Yeah, they could do a million different stories.
Well, that's just it. That's what I was going to get to actually, Jesse. Are video games something that might work better if they start doing TV shows? Is this Witcher series, if this is successful, is this something that could prove that?
The Witcher
TV shows don't have the money.
series were books before they were a video game.
That helps.
The video game was an adaptation of the books.
So, well, that helps too to have something to go off of in this day and age with the writers they got. Because good writers got to work on their own, it seems like, anymore.
I think
It doesn't mean you, Matt. I know a lot more writers than just you who got to basically self-publish shit anymore. It's revolting.
Well, it's funny. More and more comic book creators and authors are moving away from the big publishers because they get screwed over by these big companies, and they can make more money and have more creative freedom, self-publishing. And so we're seeing more and more, especially big writers, they're buying back the rights to, their previous material, and self-publishing and making.
Yeah, you're going to need some Stephen Kings and Tom Clancy's to start doing this shit to make a big difference. But yeah,
those guys have no motivation to change.
Of course not. But that's what I'm saying. But it'll happen eventually when them guys are gone and out of the process. It'll change, and digital's where a lot of it's at. I know that. Like you've said that yourself, I think too. Where basically anymore it's near damn impossible to make a physical version unless you know it's going to sell.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say that 90% of my sales come from digital ebooks. So,
well, they're easily consumable that way. But I mean, I look at it this way: eventually, they'll come up with something that is completely video game based that will do well. I've seen things like, again, not to bring up Mortal Kombat, but they did that web series a few years back that started out really well.
Yeah.
There's potential there for things like that. You need to get the right people behind it for one.
Well, you also need a way to monetize it, like that web series, for instance. I don't know how web series actually turn a profit.
Well, I think it was on Machinima, so they had like a deal, and then like they released it on Blu-ray later on. So, I mean, there's always potential avenues for things like that, but the new thing, of course, is the streaming wars, and that's where a lot of this stuff is going to have a chance to either shine or fall.
Yeah, we're going to be getting a lot of interesting content because of the streaming wars. But like in the short term, consumers win, but in the long term, once some of these services start falling by the wayside, we're going to be stuck, which is not going to be fun.
Yeah, it sucks because I don't want to turn around and tell people to keep adding services, but it's like if you want to support what you like, you're going to have to. So you're just going to have to hunker down and figure out what it is you want. If you have cable now, you may have to dump cable and opt out of that for like Netflix and Hulu and Amazon just to be able to get what you want. But
eventually, I think that they're going to transition to a cable model where they bundle all these services together for like a
lot of them are already, because Amazon, you can get like CBS All Access and a bunch of other ones on there through there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's what they're doing with Disney Plus. Is it's going to be bundled with Hulu and ESPN's deal or whatever the hell it is now, and stuff like that. And HBO Max, that's basically what that is just an umbrella for all their shit.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, like eventually they're going to come together and be like, oh, for $150, $200 a month, you get all the Disney, Universal, Paramount, CBS, Warner Brothers streaming services. Well,
and that's just it. You're going to have to pick one, and that's what's going to suck.
No, like you'll be able to get all of them, but it's going to be like for a package. It's going to be basically just like cable.
To a point, yes, but you're only going to be able to buy those that are together. That's what I'm trying to say is, like with Amazon, yeah, you have some choices now to a la carte, but it's going to come to a point like if you want Disney Plus, Hulu, and that kind of stuff, yeah, you can get all those, and it's going to cost you X amount a month, like you said. But then if you want all the Warner Brothers stuff, you're also going to have to buy HBO Max, and to get the full package, it's going to be however much a month. Starting packages are cheap, but that's how they sucker you in. It's the same thing with like Amazon and everything else like that. You got your stuff with Amazon Prime that's free, but never is the movie or show you want to watch on there for free. You always generally have to turn around and rent it or buy it if you want to watch it or seek it out elsewhere. So, and I'm not a digital fan to begin with, and it really pisses me off when I can't get something on physical media.
Yeah, that's why after a while you just have to go and buy the DVDs or Blu-rays on the internet and call it a day.
Well, I don't like to buy bootleg things either, but my point is,
Not Blu-ray, not bootleg.
Yeah, but a lot of the ones that are like, my point is I can't get a lot of the streaming shows on Blu-ray or DVD. They don't release them. Like I can't go out and buy Cobra Kai right now. The only way I can watch it's on YouTube.
You can't. Yeah, you have to go bootleg.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I don't want to do that either. So like I'm stuck in this like weird limbo now. Cobra Kai is kind of a bad example because I can watch that for free now.
Yeah, they had Cobra Kai season 1 and 2 for sale for $25 at the convention the other day.
But like some TV shows are hard to come by anymore. Like Orville only came out on DVD and digital because Fox quit doing Blu-rays. Now I hope they change that when they start doing with stuff with Disney more, but I doubt it will change. What do you think about all this, Matt? I mean, I don't like the idea of having to be forced to take several different things. That's where I'm talking.
Well, I mean, we've seen this before, right? Where you had laser discs and VHS. And as the you had vinyl and then MP3, like as the industry evolves.
This is a little bit different though, and this is kind of what we were saying on our thing we did like 2 years ago with Bill Hunt of the digital bits, and that was at least and for the most part with the previous format wars, 90% of the stuff was available on all formats. This
exactly.
is a situation where you're not getting the same kind of compatibility. Not everything is going to be available through Netflix. Not everything is going to be available through Amazon. Not everything is going to be available through Hulu.
And let's be honest about it. You're going to buy all these big packages and everything to watch what? The one show you actually want to watch.
But there are opportunities here where, like for instance, you can upload anything you want to Amazon Prime and people can access it. You can upload anything you want to YouTube and people can access it. So I've actually gone fully digital. Like unlike you, like I'm not big into physical media because it just takes up space. So like I have my DVD collection and it's for show now because I never use it. And you saw this when iPads first came out because the transition to ebooks was big where I knew people that are like, I can go on a plane, I can carry my 1,000 books on my iPad. And it just gives you a lot of choice and flexibility. And I feel like digital is the same thing. Yes, you don't own the media. It can be taken away because technically you're just licensing it. But, I've been fully digital for I want to say 4 years now, maybe 5. And I've never had a problem with stuff I've bought being taken away. And just being able to call it up on any device I want, no matter where I'm at, and saving shelf space. I personally like that. I know there are some people out there who don't, but that's the way the industry's going.
Oh, don't get me wrong. I enjoy the convenience of digital in some ways, and I do have a lot of digital stuff, but I'm just an archivist in that sense. And I don't like the idea, and I've heard enough horror stories already. I ran into a few things of my own where it's like, oh, I may have paid for this, but I can't physically get it. I can download it, but I can only watch it through that app. And if that app takes a dump on me, what am I supposed to do? I've already ran into things like Ultraviolet being bought up by Vudu, which was bought up by Walmart. So you have these kind of things all the time. And then I think there was even some changes with iTunes and some other things recently as well, where people were having some major issues. I'm glad I never got involved with iTunes and stuff, but yeah.
Well, iTunes just went through a major overhaul.
Or it's if you change your account, you lose all your shit.
Or there's that issue, yeah. If you get hacked or anything happens like that, yeah.
I think a bigger issue is like fair use, copyright stuff. Like we see it on YouTube all the time, where people are trying to, take legitimate stuff and use fair use to try to comment on it or re-edit it or something like that. And they're not making money off of stuff or anything like that. They're just doing it because of creative reasons.
Yeah, the thing I never got about YouTube is how many people just have videos of other band songs on their channel. and they get like, you know, hundreds of thousands, millions of views, but you can't.
Well, see, that's the thing, is that they're not necessarily getting that money. That's the thing, is that may be claimed by that whoever owns that music. Now what Matt's talking about is totally fine. YouTube will let you do that, but if now whoever owns that original footage wants to turn around and use it or claim it for themselves, they can, as long as they can prove they own it. Now, the other problem, though, is the other side of it, though, is like that hurts guys like us, is the fair use factor, where we should be allowed to use up to, like, say, you know, however many seconds of audio or video for anything for that matter, as long as it's for educational purposes and not just to profit off something. Like if you're just loading up a scene, you know, obviously you shouldn't be able to do that. But if you're trying to use that scene to talk about the film or review it and stuff like that, that's been a problem and a hurdle all YouTubers have had to try and get over, and it's never going to change.
If it's transformative, like the fact that you can't use a trailer, you know, something that's meant to market and promote a.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
That people are copyright claiming trailers. It's like
they're sticklers about that. I talked to when I still had my. I mean, I probably still could get a hold of them. I don't know if they still work there or not at Warner Brothers. When I talked to them, they flat out told me, you want to avoid any kind of copyright strikes, don't use a trailer, first and foremost. Find a flat out scene that's not a trailer and edit around it as best you can, and don't use more than like 8 to 10 seconds at a time and stuff like that, because you're going to get struck.
Bunch of stupid rules.
Yeah, because a lot of times some of them will let it go, but certain companies won't. They're just going to be dicks about it. I mean, I could go through the list and tell you, but you know, like it's just a simple. It's just Disney's one of the worst. But it's just a simple point of just.
I just find it strange that a company would create a piece of marketing material that they then prevent from being spread around and marketing their product. Like it just doesn't make sense to me why.
I totally agree.
Why a company would basically make a commercial, which is what a trailer is basically, and then prevent people from sharing it and spreading it around and calling attention to it.
What I was told, and the reason for this is, and mainly why they target the trailers and trailer footage, is because of people who just re-upload the trailer, period. Don't do anything to it. They just re-upload it. So it's the easiest way for them to combat that. And it just, it's so that's the casual. I get it. I totally get where you're coming from. I agree with you guys, but you got to remember they're a business, and the amount of money that they make off of YouTube and the trailers and certain exclusive places that trailers are supposed to play and certain things like that, or like deals that they make, like Joe Blow or whatever. YouTube gets an exclusive first Avengers trailer. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. They can turn around and sue because they're allowing all these people to just willy-nilly throw up the trailer everywhere. And I get it from both angles. I do. But I totally agree with you guys that the use of any kind of footage has gotten really difficult, because Paramount, MGM, Universal are the worst. They will never drop any kind of claim. Fox, Disney, they've been known to once in a great while, but generally will not. Warner Brothers, they're once in a while will, once in a while won't. If it's a trailer, they generally won't.
I just live streamed an hour and a half.
Lionsgate won't, never.
And I got 8 strikes.
What's that, Jesse?
I live streamed an hour and a half of playing Battlefront 2, and I got 8 copyright strikes from Disney.
See, yeah, videos are weird too, or video games. Because some of them have no problems, but other ones do. Like Nintendo was a big jerk for years, I guess.
Yeah, but it's like, if you're gonna have a problem like that, they should just not allow you to live stream. I do it straight from my PlayStation. Just put a block on it, man.
Well, I guess the earlier problem with the video games was the music. But Matt, it sounded like you had something to say. Sorry.
Well, I was going to say that I blame YouTube more than I blame the studios for this stuff, because if YouTube just had some balls and just said, hey, you know, sue us if you want to, we'll take you to court.
Well, that's what they want to avoid. That's exactly what they want to avoid. They want to play ball with these guys because they give them the best content. That's the thing.
Supposedly, yeah. But
well, look at this. You got to remember how much when you go to see a trailer, 9 times out of 10, where are you watching a trailer?
On YouTube.
That's my point. Besides kitty videos, trailers, and kitty videos, music videos, trailers are probably the number 3 thing on YouTube that are watched the most, I bet.
Yeah, probably. But still, I feel like if any company could throw their weight around and get these studios to kind of like fall in line, it would be Google. So I just feel like YouTube continuously.
They're big, but they need the advertising. That's what they live off of. That's the problem. That's what this all revolves around is Google, and we're going to get in trouble for saying it, but Google will never piss off their advertisers. Sorry.
Well, that's not true because I used to be an advertiser with Google. I was spending millions of dollars a year advertising on Google. And I knew lots
but you're not Walmart, you're not Disney, you're not. Yeah,
that's true. But I knew a lot of people who spent lots of money advertising on Google, and they were not afraid to piss us off. Now, the brand advertisers that you're talking about, there's some stuff there, but
that's what I'm talking about.
Keep in mind that the advertisers need Google probably more than Google needs those advertisers, because Google can always find a new brand that they can bring on board if they want to, or just cater to smaller advertisers and a lot more of them. Google's problem is that they treat the end user, like the person watching YouTube videos or the person using the search engine, as their actual customer, as opposed to the people who actually give them money. And that creates a lot of cross contamination problems. That's probably the wrong word for it, but wires crossing in terms of, the people giving Google money aren't really treated as the customer. It's the people using Google who are treated as the end customer. And so that's why you get advertiser friendly crap and quality score issues and things like that when using their advertising platform. And it's just like, I feel like Google is just, they don't give a crap about anyone, honestly, except themselves. And that's always been my impression of how they operate.
Well, that part's true, but they do give a shit about pissing off like Disney and Walmart and stuff like that. Those are their main.
But they don't have to.
Yeah.
They don't have to.
Well, to a point, yes and no. But they also have to deal with, we're technically like another part of that really they have to deal with. And when we have to deal with like the adpocalypse, for instance, that's us just basically taking the brunt of what they have to deal with the advertisers.
I don't agree with that. I don't, because Google and YouTube and Alphabet, the parent company, they are one of the biggest companies in the world. They could basically set the rules and they could negotiate deals with these things and be like, hey, this is how we're going to run things, take it or leave it. So I feel like,
but they didn't do that though. That's the problem, man.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're right. But I'm saying they could if they wanted
to.
Yeah,
I said that then too. I'm like, what the fuck are they doing? Why are they coattailing to these guys when they're the number one area to go, to get your word out there about whatever it is you want? If you want to make sure people know about your product, Google's the place to go.
Yeah, I mean, Google is the 1,000-pound gorilla. Probably, it's like, Facebook is the only one that can come close to them right now. So if they wanted to, they could just tell the big studios to go screw off and play by their rules if they ever want, any exposure on YouTube or search algorithm or whatever. So, Google has a lot more power than the studios is my point. And if they wanted to institute changes that were more creator friendly, they could easily do it. So they just don't.
I don't understand them either. I've tried calling them, and this too. They'll tell you nobody works at YouTube.
Yeah.
They also try and say that YouTube don't make no money. And I know servers and all that kind of stuff cost money, but for what they shave off the top of, you even just figure what like people like PewDiePie make in a year. There's no way this is not extremely profitable for them.
Yeah, exactly. Otherwise, why would they be doing it?
Well, yeah, and I'm sure the overhead cost is not cheap. Don't get me wrong, but it can't be nearly what they play like it is. That's what I'm trying to get to. And again, you're right. And I said this before. Why would they coattail to these people? Why would they play ball like that? I don't know. I don't think they were directly trying to screw us, but they sure did pass the buck along to us when they got hit by it. But whatever they felt they could weather it, maybe that's why. And they didn't want to start a war. I don't know the answer. But again, like I said, I wish they would have made it different, because otherwise I would be making a hell of a lot more money than I am right now.
Well,
I was doing so much better over 2 years ago.
Yeah, it was funny when I lived in LA. I met some big YouTubers just through networking and stuff like that. And I had experience dealing with Google because I used to run a marketing company that advertised almost exclusively through Google. And I had just gotten screwed over by Google like so many times. And these YouTubers were just talking about how great Google was and how much money you can make. And I'm like, guys, just wait, because Google they came for me. They will come for you. And when the first adpocalypse hit, I was like, aha, I told you so. And then the second adpocalypse hit, and I said, what did I tell you? And then
the second one was the one that hurt us. The first one wasn't shit.
Yeah, but I mean, the point is that it's so dangerous to, have your livelihood depend on companies like Google and Facebook and Twitter and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's scary.
Yeah, they can and they have no problems with screwing you over as a small business owner. So like you have to be super careful about that type of thing. I mean, like we're seeing it with Twitch. Like Jesse, we talked earlier in the stream about what was going on over at Twitch, and Twitch has been screwing over streamers left and right. And it wasn't until Mixer kind of came up as a viable alternative that, now they're scared. So
that's the way it always happens.
But the problem is no one can be a viable alternative to YouTube or Google right now.
No, because YouTube has way too much of a back catalog of how-to videos and such.
Well, it's become the platform. And plus, just technically, no other company can, keep up with the technical requirements of having like how many hours of video uploaded every day. I mean, it's crazy.
It's like a couple of years worth, isn't it? Something like that, or at least a couple months worth. I can't remember now.
Yeah, I don't know how they plan to store all this stuff long term. I mean, like they must be eating through server farms left and right.
Well, that part I do understand, and I'm not going to argue that if some, obviously that kind of shit does cost money. Don't get me wrong, but when you want to sit here and say, "Oh, we don't make any money," and your biggest YouTuber is like making X amount, and you're taking X amount off the top of him, X amount off the top of super chats, X amount off the top of the little guys, you're not hurting for money. There's no effing way. And what I meant by the apocalypse thing is
the YouTuber over there with the 2 million subscribers has a McLaren.
Yeah, we rebounded after the first apocalypse pretty well. It was the second one that really killed us. I have not recovered on After Dark since then, and Midnight's Edge has also been really hit hard by it. It's just one of those things. Like this is one of the worst times to try and become a YouTuber.
Yeah.
I mean, if anybody asks me, my advice on it is like, don't quit your day job.
So you're saying I waited too long?
Yeah, well. The difference is you got a bit of a different foot in the door from other avenues to where, this is not the only thing you've done to this point, to where like me, when I got first involved, I'd done a few things, but nothing of any note or value that really was any interest of anybody until Andre kind of just stumbled upon me and, kind of the diamond in the rough thing, I guess, for the editing wise and stuff like that. But, I mean, I'm not a great writer. I'm not real good doing this kind of thing unless I got a few guys like you to talk to. So I'm not the face of Midnight's Edge. I'm not the voice of Midnight's Edge. I pull the strings behind the scenes and I do this kind of crap. I mean, not like saying you're, that this show is crap. But I mean, I do I go out and I shoot the shit with people. I'm good at that kind of part. I'm good at networking. I'm good at talking in like this kind of a setting. But when it comes to like doing the breakdowns of, the videos that we do, I'm not good at writing that kind of stuff. Everything I've written has been rewritten from top to bottom. Let's put it that way. So whatever writer credits I get are really stupid. I came up with the idea. That's about it.
Yeah, but I mean, like you're able to form coherent thoughts and
Well, what I really think that Andre values is the ability to bounce stuff off me, and I come in with stuff that he didn't necessarily think of. You know what I mean? Like an aspect he didn't really think of. Like one of the recent ones I remember was when we were doing one of the Godzilla videos, the King Kong videos, and it was about the reshoots for Kong. And he's like, this, and the other, are possibilities. I'm like, yeah, but what if it's the other way around, Andre? And they're not doing it to make the movie better, but they're doing it to cut costs. And they're doing it to cut around the special effects. He's like, I didn't think of that. I'm like, well, yeah, that's what I thought of the first thing. It's like Godzilla didn't make as much money as they wanted it to. Let's go back and reshoot Kong so we can cut out some of the special effects so it don't cost so damn much. Basically, it was like,
That's consideration. That's definitely a consideration.
And that's the type of thing he didn't think of, and that's what he uses me for, is like to bounce that kind of a thing. And this Star Wars thing recently, like I brought up right away when I come in, is like there's a bunch of stuff we didn't bring up. He's like, save it for the next video. I'm like, yeah, but I think some of that might have been relevant here, but I could be wrong. I have to wait and see what he's got in mind.
Yeah, there's always more to add with the Star Wars stuff, which is funny.
Everybody's gonna die,
Yeah,
and
you can
doesn't
literally
matter.
talk forever just about Star Wars.
Well, this man just interviewed Lando himself.
Yeah, kind of.
Lando?
Yeah, I got to meet him the other day. It was fun.
How was that?
It was cool. I asked him if he was gonna die.
Yeah. What do you say?
He wouldn't really answer me.
No. He didn't say we're all gonna die eventually?
No. I was like, so they're gonna kill you, right? And he's like, no. But he was like, he hasn't seen the scenes that aren't his, so he doesn't know the whole movie.
Well, he'd probably know if he died or not.
Yeah, I know exactly. He's like, but he said, "What do you want me to do? Tell you the whole movie?" I was kind of like, "Well, yeah."
I can't, man. I got an NDA.
I could just see, like that shot of him in the trailer where he's like laughing and Chewie and him are flying the Millennium Falcon.
Mm-hmm.
I could just see like that's his last scene. It's just him and Chewie flying away with the Millennium Falcon. Like you never see any of those things again.
Are they gonna fly into a moon?
No, they're just going somewhere.
No, I know, but did you know? Remember that's how Chewie died in the novels before.
Well, I know that a moon crashed on him in the novel.
Or yeah, it was the other way around, but you knew what I meant.
I remember reading that chapter where like Chewbacca, he's like standing on that mountain, and he's like, raging against the dying of the light. And the moon's just like, and it's like, well, it was a very powerful scene in the book, but I'm like physics wise that would never, it would never happen like that. But Star Wars was never about scientific accuracy.
Right. Well, I remember reading that when that happened, and I'm like Thanos. What the fuck? Who threw the moon at him? I don't get it. But yeah, I was like, now that you say that, I remember the moon hit him, not the other way around. Yeah. It just doesn't work that way.
I remember that was big news when they decided to kill off Chewbacca.
I know, right? It was like, holy shit. Now it doesn't matter.
None of that.
No. Eventually, they'll reboot the entire thing.
God, I hope not.
They will.
I don't know about rebooting, but they're definitely going to start something brand new with the Benioff and Weiss trilogy.
Yeah, but I feel like that's going to be something that's completely unrelated to anything we've seen. I highly doubt it's going to really reference anything.
That's what I mean is like it's not related to anything that we've yet seen. It's going to just start something new. Same thing with Rian Johnson's trilogy. When that comes out.
I don't even know if he's supposed to have a trilogy either. Like the words have been played and bantied about now because like Iger, I don't think has once mentioned Johnson, has he? To this day, or did he once finally? Kennedy's the only one who's mentioned him.
Well, I mean, he's got a contract. They hired him.
Oh yeah. But that doesn't mean it's still going to happen. A lot of people got contracts for a lot of shit.
Well, I'm pretty sure that it's still on right now. Whether it ultimately happens, that's still up in the air. But he's still planning on working on those things. In fact, I just saw an article in Dateline the other day that they mentioned that he's still moving forward with his trilogy.
Yeah, and I plan on waking up in the morning, but my odds are 50-50, just like everybody else too.
Yeah, exactly.
Look, this is one thing that Andre has always expressed. Contracts are made to be broken, and they only need to. And the studios hold all the power. They hold all the power in the contract usually. Very rarely does the contractee, is that the proper word? The contractor, is that the word I'm looking for? Help me out, Matt. You're the writer here.
The person contracted.
Yes, the contracted. Rarely do they have a lot of the power when it comes to any kind of cancellations or voids or moving on from any contract. Like look at like the whole situation with like Henry Cavill. Now we've never gotten or Cavill, however you want to pronounce it. We've never gotten a specific confirmation from any party that actually matters on whether or not he's coming back as Superman or not. But it's pretty obvious that there's some shifting going around over at Warner Brothers. And I think he's still got a contract with them, but that don't seem to matter. These things happen all the time. I think even Edward Norton had a multi-film contract that didn't matter. Same thing with what's his face, who was originally Brody. There
are always cancellation clauses and
exactly. That's what I'm saying.
And things like that. I think Henry Cavill, that was a renegotiation thing. Like he had fulfilled his contract and they were trying to renegotiate.
Okay, that might have been a bad example, but again,
but what I'm saying in regards to Rian Johnson is that he was hired to develop a new trilogy. Now, whether or not that trilogy actually gets made or what have you, that's up in the air. But he's been paid and locked down in order to do this, and so it's on his plate I think that, like I said, I think Benioff and Weiss are going to do their trilogy, and then after that trilogy is done, they're going to roll into Rian Johnson's because he will have had all that time to develop it. But I'm hoping that they don't. I'm hoping that they realize Rian Johnson's totally wrong for Star Wars.
I'm hoping nobody ever pays him up front again.
Yeah.
Well, I think with this Bloomberg thing that came out here recently, I think that's kind of Disney basically kind of admitting, in a way. I mean, I don't think they had anything to do with the report, but I'm surely they had a chance to refute anything in that report, and weren't able to.
I don't know.
So,
I think Disney's in the mode right now where they're like, we know that there's going to be short-term pain in terms of rolling out this new streaming service, and I think that they've got legitimate excuses for why certain things have failed. But they were expecting, like, if you go back to that Hollywood Reporter interview with Iger, I think he even said that him and the board and the stockholders are all expecting to have like some major losses in the short term as they're getting ready to, roll this thing out and get all these acquisitions and stuff like that.
Yeah, but did you read the Bloomberg article? Okay, like they kind of let them have it in that. Like they like, oh, Disney says this and this and that and the other, but it's obvious that this and this is actually the case. That like it almost read like a Midnight's Edge fucking video. Like,
yeah. But I mean, like these are the guys, the guys who run Disney. These are the guys who know the metrics, and they know in the long term it's going to work out for them. And like I said before, like because Iger laid the groundwork to prepare people for these types of disappointments financially, he's covered at least for like the foreseeable.
Yeah, you're right about that.
For like at least the next like year or two,
which all that matters to him because he's gone in a year or two.
Well, but once Disney Plus launches and the streaming services are up and running, then you'll start seeing people being held accountable for failures.
Well, Disney Plus is the only thing right now, as far as the streaming wars goes, that I would call a sure thing. Like if you want to guarantee one that's going to rise above the rest, just because it's going to be Disney Plus, and that's because a lot of people have kids.
Yeah, a lot of Marvel fans, a lot of Star Wars.
And then you have that aspect.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying, even before those two things.
Yeah, the bundle with Hulu and ESPN. What's that, Jesse?
I'm not going to get it.
No. I am. We already pay like $10 a month for Hulu, so we might as well just pay $13 a month to get Disney Plus.
See, I'm not adverse to something like that. That makes economical sense because I too also have Hulu because I don't have cable, and a lot of the shows that are on TV that I do watch, you can catch the next day on Hulu for the most part, aside from CBS shows and some NBC shows, I think, and a lot of the cable shows are on there, but not all of them.
Yeah, I get YouTube TV, man. $40 a month.
I had the one. Well, I see. That's my problem. Is I've tried a lot of the TVs, the live TVs, and where I'm at in my area, they don't service it. Like I can't get like the locals and some other stuff, so it's like pointless for me to have it to watch one channel.
Well, YouTube TV gives you all the local channels.
I haven't. I'll check it out again, but last time I checked it, I wasn't able to where I'm at in my area. Same thing with PS Network too, and one of the other ones I tried. I think it was through Amazon. Yeah,
unlimited cloud VR, which is really nice.
Yeah, I live in a really shitty area, but yeah, that's one of the reasons why I want to get the hell out of here. So you already know that story.
Come to Vegas.
That's the plan, man. That's the plan, man. Hopefully.
Take you out to the luxury theaters out here so you can see some movies in style.
Oh, I wished I would have went with you that one night, but we had shit we had to do. It sucked.
Yeah. Went and saw Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
I still got to see that yet. I really, really, really want to see it. So
it's funny. I walked out of that theater. I was like, I don't know if I like that movie, but the more I thought about it, it's the better the movie gets.
That's the way Tarantino movies are, though.
Yes, exactly.
Every single one of them.
Every time I see a Tarantino movie for the first time, I'm always kind of like, I don't know if I like this movie. But then the more I see it, or the more I think about it, the more I talk to people about it, the more like, wow, that movie was brilliant.
And that's what makes a good movie is like, it doesn't matter necessarily. Like The Last Jedi it's the opposite effect. I walked out, I'm like, oh, it was all right. But as the more I thought about it, the more I talked about it, the more I got into it. Then I tried watching it again. It's like, no, this thing is horrible.
Hot garbage. Moving on.
What was that?
Hot garbage. Moving on.
Yeah, right. Well, which is sad. It could have been something special. But it wasn't.
Should have been. They had a fucking brain.
Ryan Johnson was the wrong guy for that.
Well, let's talk about that for a minute if you want to, because that's the whole problem with this whole thing. And one thing I disagree with Robert Meyer Burnett on is that Kathleen Kennedy was the wrong person for this job. And Rob and I have pointed out, and jokingly, but it's true, she's fired just as many directors as she's hired at this point, I think.
What was Robert Meyer Burnett's
revolving door.
He doesn't think Kathleen Kennedy was a bad choice. He thinks she's doing a good job. It's like, how can she be doing a good job when every movie besides The Force Awakens has had nothing but issues with revolving around?
I'll tell you the issue with Kathleen Kennedy, and that is that she's a good logistical producer.
Yeah, and that's what we've said too. Is you're great if you got Michael Jordan on your team. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, like if you look at her career, like she worked with very talented filmmakers, particularly Spielberg, and she was really good at getting Spielberg what he wanted. And she approached running Lucasfilm.
To do with her though.
But she approached running Lucasfilm much like she approached producing for Spielberg, in the sense that she hired people she thought were very talented, and then she worked to kind of give them whatever it was they wanted, as opposed to kind of being the Kevin Feige character where, he comes in and he's like, here's the vision, fit into the vision, as opposed to, hey, you come up with the vision and we'll give you whatever you need to work it out. And so what happened was you have all these Star Wars movies that she produced that have, a non-cohesive voice. Like George Lucas, when he was running things, whether he made a good Star Wars movie or a bad Star Wars movie, it was a Star Wars movie because it was under his guidance, under his vision. Whereas Kathleen Kennedy didn't have a vision. She allowed other people to come in and have their vision, and she was just trying to support them and bring in their vision to life. And because of that, all the prequel era stuff is lacking a coherent kind of like overarching, I guess, bubble or thread or vision, for lack of a better word, that kind of runs through all of them. And part of that issue is she did have to fire people because their visions went so far out of left field that she had to come in and basically clean up their mess. And one of the reasons why she liked Ryan Johnson so much is because he didn't make a mess for her to clean up. He came in on time, on budget. They went with the approved script. She didn't cause him any problem. He was a dream to work with for her because he was like the one guy, other than probably JJ, that didn't cause her headaches. And so that's why she
You're not wrong, and that's why I remind everybody that why she brought JJ back after they had the falling out with Trevorrow is because JJ was the one who made, in their eyes, the one that everybody went to see and loved.
Why didn't she put Dave Filoni in charge of the vision? What the fuck was she thinking? Well, I mean, there's a lot of reasons why Dave Filoni probably wasn't put in charge, but the question is, would he have wanted the job? I don't know. He's an animation guy, right? Would he want to make that jump to movies? It's a lot of pressure.
I'm gonna have to hop out here for tonight.
Hey, Jesse, thanks for coming on my first stream. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. Come back
later, brother.
All right. Have a good night, guys.
Good.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do this on After Dark soon for sure. But yeah, I mean, that's a good question. I mean, I have to agree with Matt.
As far as Curie Hart goes, like, I don't really know what exactly it was Curie Hart did at Lucasfilm.
She took the fall.
I know that she was in charge of the story group, but I don't really know what that story group did exactly. Like, I remember in my research and for my Last Jedi articles that Ryan Johnson would come into the Lucasfilm headquarters in San Francisco and meet with the story group and go through his concepts and ideas, and they would, he would kind of use them as a bouncing board. But I really don't know what exactly their job was necessarily. Do you know, Tom? Any ideas?
They're supposed to have come up with the story ideas and other, I'm assuming, like, not just with the movies, but like anything that surrounds Star Wars and keep everything in check. Now, a lot of these people were people pulled in. It was a lot like the Star Trek Discovery situation from my point of view, from what I could tell. And that is a lot of people who were chosen for their diversity more so than their actual chops.
Well, I don't know what exactly their job was. Like, was it a lore?
I don't know either.
Job? Because if that was the case, then they failed miserably, especially with The Last Jedi. Was it were they there to kind of help in the writing process for
I
these
don't know.
scripts? Like, it's so ambiguous what the story group actually was and what their duties. Like, it almost feels like they wanted a TV writer's room, but these guys didn't really write anything, did they?
I don't think so, because Kasdan and JJ wrote Force Awakens, right?
Yeah.
And then Kasdan's son and what was that?
They were the ones credited for it. Yeah.
Yeah. And then who, I can't remember who wrote Rogue One.
It was
Gareth Edwards and whoever, probably.
Well, it was Gareth Edwards, but also what's his name?
That's not the one that what's his face worked on, is it?
Tony Gilroy.
Okay. Well, yeah, he was the one who came in and finished it too.
Yeah.
So maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
And took over the directing duties and the writing duties.
And then Last Jedi is credited to Rian Johnson, correct? Yeah. And then Solo is Kasdan's kid, and
John Kasdan and Lawrence Kasdan.
Yeah.
But
so again, what do these story group do? I don't. Unless they work on the TV shows, have they worked on Rebels and shit like that? I don't. Maybe.
Supposedly they worked on everything, right? Like that. Like their job was to kind of oversee the like kind of shepherd through the development process, all these ideas, and get them into like a finished script or story or something like that. But in terms of Curie Hart, I don't even know what exactly her duties were at Lucasfilm. Other than like Kathleen Kennedy just wanted to hire a bunch of women and look good for the papers.
Well, that's what I was saying. All these people that she seemed to have on the group, I mean, it just was more important as far as their diversity, because a lot of the ones we checked into as far as what they did, it was Gilmore Girl style writing, like we say for STD. And again, I mean, I was really kind of disappointed, unless Kasdan was one of those, like, he was really upset with Disney when they're like, what do they want us to do? Just do the same damn movie all over again, or what? Because I just can't imagine the pedigree that he is, that he would come in and just do that. And I know JJ was adverse to a lot of the changes they made him make too, but I don't want to stick up for JJ either. So
well, what's weird about Lawrence Kasdan is that, so he used to be a brilliant writer, in my opinion. And
that's what I'm saying. This guy was,
as he's gotten older, his writing has gotten worse and worse. So I don't know what's going on there. If it's one of those situations where, like, when he was younger, he was surrounded with people who pushed him to be better or weren't afraid to tell him that his stuff sucked, and so like he'd have to go back and redo it. Because nowadays, like it feels like he's got this pedigree to him. And if you look at some, like Desperado, for instance, Desperado is a great movie. That was a movie that he wrote.
Silverado, you mean? But yeah.
Silverado, yeah, sorry.
That's what. Yeah, I was going to say, this is the guy that made fucking Silverado, for Pete's sake. Sorry, I don't know if you want the for swearing, but
The Big Chill, stuff like that. But
yeah,
like, he's a brilliant writer. And then, like, as time went on, like his stories got worse and worse. And
he worked on Indiana Jones too, didn't he?
Did. What's funny is I actually did a little bit of a dive into John Kasdan because he interacted with me a little bit on Twitter, and I was like, maybe I'm being a bit harsh on this guy. So I actually went back, and John Kasdan wrote and directed 2 different movies before Solo. One was called In the Land of Women, and the other was The First Time.
Not familiar with either.
Yeah. So In the Land of Women is actually a fairly decent movie. It's not a great film, but if you watched it and you didn't know anything about who was making it and stuff like that, you'd think, okay, this is a young filmmaker who's maybe developing his voice. And then his next movie was called The First Time, and it's about these 2 high school kids, a guy and a girl, and it's kind of about their first time having sex. It's about them meeting and their build up to the relationship, the first time they have sex, and then
the spoilers in the title, yeah.
But it was almost juvenile. Like I was shocked at how bad that movie was in terms of like the dialogue and the structure and the storytelling. Like it almost felt a little bit like Brick. Rian Johnson's first movie,
which I haven't watched, but I've heard things about it. Yeah,
yeah.
I have seen his other one though. I've seen the one with Bruce Willis.
Yeah. Brick is a bit of a mixed bag, but in terms of this movie, it was interesting because it felt like The First Time was a step backwards from In the Land of Women, and so like I was kind of like live tweeting as I was watching it, and just kind of getting my thoughts around it. And it was just shocking to me because it was like he started off okay and then he got worse, and his dad started off brilliant and then he got worse. And so like it kind of culminated in Solo, where they were both just extremely mediocre. And I don't know how much of Solo being kind of middle of the road was due to the reshoots or what have you, but it just felt like both Kasdans aren't all they're cracked up to be.
It's starting to show. At least the cracks are starting to show with the old man. That's for sure. As far as the son goes, it's weird because he always comes up like once people know him from Midnight's Edge. One of the first questions that seems to come up lately has been, "What do you think about Jason Reitman doing Ghostbusters 3? Aren't you scared?" And I'm like, "Not really." And they're like, "Well, why? Well, like after Solo, aren't you worried?" I'm like, Solo was a different story. Like Kasdan's kid hadn't really proved himself yet. You could argue that Jason has almost surpassed his father in his, like, the movies that he's made so far have really gotten a lot more notice award wise and critically than a lot of Ivan's movies.
Yeah, he's made some interesting films. Like, didn't he make Thank You for Smoking?
Yes, that's like my favorite he did. And Juno, even though I wasn't a big fan of it, but it was a good movie.
He's got some chops to him. You know what's
that's
also
what I'm saying, yeah.
interesting is Jake Kasdan, John's brother and the other son of Lawrence. You know, he made Jumanji.
Yes, that name. Yeah.
Like, he's extremely talented.
You're right. I totally spaced him out. Yeah.
Yeah. So like you know, it's just kind of weird how the talent seems to jump around in that family.
I don't know. I mean, I was not worried until now, and then like you brought up Cass, and I never really thought about his writing getting worse. But what has he done since the 80s and early 90s? I don't know.
Just a bunch of bad movies, I think. Aaron C says, any thoughts on Stephen Schiff from The Americans? I guess he's running Cassian streaming series.
Stephen Schiff. I know the name. Let me look him up. I don't know The Americans, so let me look.
Oh, that might be the guy who show ran The Americans.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what else he's run because I know the name, but I've never seen The Americans. So.
Well, I saw the entire series of The Americans, and
he did the Wall Street sequel. He did.
I felt like The Americans were best when it was under what's his name? The guy who did Justified. What's that guy's name? I'm gonna have to look him up. I should
the
know.
Actor?
No, the producer.
The producer. Was it the same guy who did? No, I'm trying to think. Now you got me thinking about that, and I'm on this.
Graham Yost. That's
okay.
So I felt like The Americans were better under Graham Yost, and great. Same could be said of Sneaky Pete, because Graham Yost was like the guy who kind of started all these shows. But I felt like the final seasons of The Americans, if that's what Stephen Schiff worked on,
he worked from 14 to 18 as a producer. It says here
from 2014.
Yeah.
Okay, so he probably did the last
last 4 years. It looks like, yeah.
So I guess he did okay. The Cassian series just kind of boggles my mind. I'm like, why did they keep going back?
Well, otherwise he's worked on Lolita, the 97 version. I barely remember that version. The Deep End of the Ocean, I barely remember that movie. True Crime, he did the screenplay. That was decent. Wall Street 2 sucked. That's all I've seen of his stuff. So, yeah.
Like, I don't like the idea of the Cassian Andor series in general.
It's pretty stupid. It's another one of those things where they're writing themselves into a box. That's what Rob and I always say. It's like we hate prequels and stuff like that because you know where they're going to end up, and you're always stuck. Like you can't really explore anything with that.
Yeah, like I think The Mandalorian is going to be interesting because they have a lot of room to maneuver there. But in terms of
I want to see what Favreau's going to do, but that's my only interest in it. But yeah,
but in terms of Cassian Andor, it's like you're locked into that original trilogy era, and you can't really deviate too much. Like Cassian Andor is never going to die or get into any situation can't get out of because we saw Rogue One.
Exactly.
So it's kind of an odd choice. It's not like what Marvel's doing with their characters, like Loki and like all these characters. It's a different thing, and I think Star Wars to keep going backwards is just never a good idea.
It's the same thing with Star Trek. Yeah, you want to quit going backwards, go forward.
Exactly.
Forward, as Johnny Five would say.
All right. Well, we've been streaming for about an hour 45
Sure.
minutes. And I think for my first stream, it was a success. I want to thank you for being a part of it, Tom.
Yeah, no problem. I didn't get this message right away. Sorry, but
That's okay. I appreciate you hopping on and chit-chatting, and hopefully we can do it again sometime. But this was just a
Absolutely.
test to see how it would go, see if I can do it. I'm very scared of doing like live stuff because I'm just like,
no,
am I
you did
gonna-
great on our channel the other day.
Gonna
Did
mess
you
up?
get any subs from that, or?
I think so. I'm not quite sure. I'm not
I'll
really
say you
keeping,
jumped like 30, but maybe a few more. I don't know.
not really keeping track of my sub count.
Ah.
But you know, it was fun to do. Like I loved being able to talk to all those guys.
I think we're gonna do some more epic podcasts like that. That really seemed to work out real cool. So
The Avengers podcast. Is that what you're going to call it?
epic
Fun Time.
I don't know about fun time, but epic podcast or something is what Andre has been calling it. So
Yeah, it was a good group. It'd be great if we can get everyone back for it.
yeah, or similar. Yeah, like I said, we can always rotate out a few too, but because I know Andre may not always be available, and Gary's really difficult to pin down sometimes. But you know, we may be able to pull in like Doomcock and some other people.
Doomcock would be fun. Michael, thanks for coming. I'm glad you enjoyed the conversation. Aaron, you came late, but you know you still came, so thank you for coming. And Tom, as always, it was a pleasure chit-chatting with you.
Absolutely, and like I said, we're gonna have to have you on After Dark again too, or on After Dark for the first time here soon. Anyway, so
Well, everyone, thanks for coming. I hope you enjoyed this first live stream on my channel. This is Matthew Kadish. I'll catch you later.